Hi there, I'm Haruka. Making videos is hard, and it's hard to really get motivated to make something anymore unless I'm like really into the thing. Like, I spend more time writing scripts because I find it more fun to write something of my own rather than dissecting something I'm not fully into. But I make sure I show up for season previews just for you guys. The problem is that this season absolutely sucks. Maybe not to the average weeb, but there is almost nothing here for me this summer season. I did my research and honestly found more stuff that I took issue with than stuff I was actually interested in watching. It is dry, bland, generic, basic. So this time, we don't have the usual categories anymore. We got some new categories. Although, I mean, I guess, some of them are the same categories, but like different names. Shows other people like and I probably won't watch. Shows that I might seem like I'm interested in, but I'm actually not. Shows I knew nothing about beforehand, but am now kinda interested in. Dumb shit that will hold me over, and the shows that I'm actually really interested in and I'm suggesting to you to watch, because there are like a few of them. So let's get into it. Shows other people like. Some sequels. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. I did not care about Jujutsu Kaisen when it first came out. I know that there's a lot of people who would be pissed off hearing that, but I truly do not care. It's not the sort of thing I'm into. I don't like big fights. It hits the same emotional beats as any standard battle anime. I'm not watching it. Mushoku Tensei Season 2. Still haven't seen the first season and likely won't for a long time. I actually don't like isekai, surprisingly, despite watching a lot of it. The difference is that I like watching trash, and a lot of trash is isekai. This show is actually good, apparently, and there are things in it that I might actually like, but I'm not in the right headspace to take on something like that at this time. I cannot handle anything that is actually well written and expected to be well written. Bleach, again, whatever season they're on at this point. So many people have an emotional attachment to this show from their childhood, and I just don't. I never even tried watching it. My sister watched it, and I don't like my sister, so I'm not watching it, and you can't make me. My life will not be improved by watching Bleach. You cannot convince me. Now for some originals. Liar Liar. This looks like a spiritual successor to No Game, No Life, combined with stuff like Kakegurui and Classroom of the Elite. The connection between all of those shows is that I've never watched them and don't really ever intend to. It's an anime about gaming and betting on those games at a school specifically for students who are good at that kind of thing. Mind game stuff, so it's just gonna be a bunch of chunies sitting around acting like they're smarter than everyone else. Undead Girl Murder Farce. This one actually isn't that bad, but it looks chuny as hell, and I'm not actually that interested in mystery. But it's about a detective who has to solve the murder of a vampire's wife. So if you're into mystery and love the late 19th century aesthetic, then you've got your show this season. Helk. Helk is based on a manga that started almost a decade ago and ended in 2017 about a human hero, Helk, entering into a tournament to become the new Demon King. However, the interim demon leaders are sus of him, so the plot progresses from there. The manga has an 8.2 on Mal. It's ranked at about number 400 in manga. The reviews are good, and the studio handling it is Satellite, who have previously made Log Horizon, Fairy Tail, Somalian the Forest Spirit, and Hellsing Ultimate. I will say some of the reviews mentioned that it starts a bit slow, which might mean bad things for the adaptation if they don't go too far into the story. Anyway, I think that there's going to be a lot of people who will enjoy it, just not me, because as I said, I don't really watch this sort of thing. Look, if you've seen my other videos, you know that I talk about sports a lot. This feels like having to preview a Chicago Fire season, my favorite team. If you've seen my MLS preview, whenever I get to the Fire, it's always like, man, I can tell you from an outside perspective, they might have a chance this season, but I know that they don't because I've seen this happen before. I can try to sell you on these shows, but if I don't have my heart in it, then I'm not going to be able to do it, especially these shows coming up next, shows I'm surprisingly not actually interested in. Here's some sequels. Horimiya Season 2. They're not calling it Season 2, but I don't understand what they're trying to do here. This is probably so surprising for so many reasons because I actually really loved the first season, but that's kind of the point because that wasn't the first season, that was the whole story. This Horimiya is a collection of stories that they didn't adapt from the manga, which makes me feel like it'll just be a disjointed mess. If you want these stories to fit into the anime adaptation, just make 2 seasons. They had the support. Why did they have to do this? Kanekari Season 3. We all know why this is here. We know what they did. I am genuinely worried about Reiji Miyajima's mental health. He has made so many tweets and drawings to make it seem like Chizuru is actually dating him. I think he has a wife. Then there's the stuff in the manga of him constantly finding some way to make Kazuya just flop around and misread literally everything. And finally, this probably has nothing to do with anything, but he does this weird thing wherein he tweets out some art and like every time the likes hit a certain level, he just like replies to the tweet with like, thank you for this number of likes. And it just makes me concerned about him. It might be like a cultural gap or something, but it makes me concerned. The only good news I can give is that Yaomori will be joining, and she is the best character in the entire show, and this might be the making a movie arc, which is really the only arc that matters in this entire 288 chapter manga. You know that one meme about how much shorter Avatar would be if Momo had a gun? That's this manga if Sumi had a gun. Devil is a Part-Timer Season 2 Part 2. Everyone was so excited to get the second season, and it just fell flat in front of everyone. I wasn't one of those excited people, so I didn't exactly watch and see why, but all you need to know is that the original show had a 7.75 on Mal, was in the top 70 in terms of popularity, just outside the top 1,000 in official rank, and then Season 2 had a 6.67, just cracks the top 500 most popular, and can't even make the top 5,000 in rank. I know you shouldn't put too much into Mal rankings, like that's just for idiots, but this is how people felt about the show. This is what people said. And a second season of the second season does not bode well. Tonikawa High School Days. This is basically the same issue that Horimiya has for me, where they're just sort of going back and telling an extra story that doesn't seem fully necessary, but it is just a 4-episode OVA, so whatever. It just feels like when they made SpongeBob Camp Coral, where they need to make it so that you see all these characters when they were younger so they can make certain jokes. It's unnecessary to me. Genjutsu no Yohane, Sunshine in the Mirror. You may wonder how this is a sequel, and I was wondering that too. The poster looked interesting. It had a mix of a fantasy world, but also with a backdrop of a modern world. I thought it might be pretty fun. I actually love that sort of juxtaposition. This is a Love Live side story. It's an idol anime. I almost gave into an idol anime. Nothing against idol shows as a whole, but actually, yes, offense to most of them. Love Live isn't bad, but there's a lot of expectations that you already know a lot of the established characters when you watch on within like a long-running series like Love Live. Even worse is if they decide to, take the time to introduce all of them, because then you get into the pura ore problem of literally remembering none of the characters by the end of the show because you spent so much time getting names thrown at you. Now for some originals. The Dreaming Boy is a Realist. I am a big fan of romance anime. I mentioned earlier that I really liked I really liked Horimiya, and I especially like romance that deals in very grounded ideas. Once again, Horimiya. I mean, why did they have to do that second season? It's so weird. Looking at the name of the show, you may think it'd fit right in. Reading the description is a different story. This guy Wataru has a crush on Aika, but realizes that she's out of his league, so he decides to stay away from her. Turns out she was actually getting into him and is now confused why he doesn't want to be around her anymore. And that is the story. It is back and forth miscommunication, and I am not watching Gamers again. I refuse. You can't make me. Eiyu Kyoshitsu. I added this anime as an example for something I'll mention later, but there's really no good trash ecchi harem this season. There's harem, there's ecchi. This technically has both. It has a bunch of cute girls. This should be fun, right? Wrong. Based on the PV, it looks like there is pretty much only one character that gets like the bulk of the sexualization, which, I mean, look, you're watching ecchi. That's what you're watching it for. You're watching for the sexualization. I don't want to get into it. It's a blonde girl that looks like a child. And so even when you take that away, all you're left with is a generic power fantasy about a chuny boy having to hide his power level from his classmates. Estúpido! Atelier Ryza. I've heard of a lot of people who are fans of the game and thought that maybe I could check out the anime if it was interesting. Except everything about this adaptation concerns me. The studio is Leiden Films. I don't need to explain further, I have said it in so many videos. This is the debut work for this director, Emma Yuzuriha, which, by the way, we do need more women directing. I'm just concerned that this is literally her first credit ever. No previous work listed on Mal for animating, writing, no episode directing credits. Usually you have those. This is just like they just plopped her out there. You're the director of this show, have fun. And it's Leiden Films, and it's... If I were a fan of this game, I'd be very concerned. Next is a double feature. First is The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses. This is an anime based on a cute romance manga about a guy who falls in love with the girl next to him in class who keeps forgetting her glasses. He helps her out and they get to know each other and it just seems really adorable. The manga is highly rated. The character designs look pretty damn good, almost like a KyoAni level of design detail. The other is The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again Today. It's like Senko-san, but instead of, a cute fox girl and a salaryman, it's a giant cat and an office lady. So it's less about being like fluffy and comfy and cute. It's more just like kind of cute in a situational way. I'm pretty sure it'll probably be comfy. I mean, I like the art for the manga. Like, it's a highly rated manga. I think that the art style is cuter than than it is in the anime, but I mean, it's just like a nice slice of life. The reason why I put these two together is because they're being made by the same studio, which thus gives them the same thing. Something I was going to mention in an update video is that I finally graduated from film school, and while I was much more on the writing side, I still learned a lot about, directing, how to film a scene, like framing, cinematography type stuff, and editing. There's a line that legendary film critic Roger Ebert once said, which was in a review of Battlefield Earth. This director has learned from better films that directors sometimes tilt their cameras, but he has not learned the reason why. I think this quote works here as well. Both of these shows are being made by Studio Gohans. Without looking too close, you'll see that they made, Setokai Yaku Indomo, a wonderful comedy anime with dirty jokes, I love it, and the K-series. But then you see what they've done recently, and you'll find handshakers and W's. That's the only way I can pronounce it. It's W''Z. I don't know how. Eyes is an actual show. To put simply, watching the PVs for both of these shows made me physically ill from all of the camera moves and weird angles. These are slice of life shows. Why the fuck are we breaking out the Dutch angles? Why is the camera flying the fuck around and forcing us to notice the very messy and poorly rendered CGI while giving us motion sickness? If you were making an action like Handshakers was kind of trying to be, I'd say okay, you're trying something. You're moving around to make a distinct style as you're cutting a battle. But this is slice of life, where you don't need to move the camera. If this were actually being filmed, I'd literally have just sit on a fucking master shot the whole time. Keep it fucking simple and do better. I hope that someday these mangas get better adaptations, because I can tell that it's going to be bad. It's not even going to be bad in a fun way. It is going to be, I said it made me physically ill. It is not going to be good. It is going to look terrible. It's not going to be funny. This isn't going to be like, X-Arm, oh, hey, look at this weird thing happening. No, the camera's just going to be moving around and you don't know what's going on anymore. It's a slice of life. Why do this? I mean, at a glance, next season is so much better. You got sequels to stuff like Spy Family, Eminence in Shadow, Kanojo mo Kanojo, the last one's just for me. Adaptations of manga classics like Soso no Frieren, Undead Unlock, and Shangri-La Frontier. I just read up on it. It's pretty interesting. Then some other dumb fun like I'm in Love with the Villainess, 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You, and an anime original about F1 racing called Overtake. Man, it looks so much fun. There's even a weird fluffy anime about a witch who raises a human she found in the forest one day into a sexy woman. Dear God, I want that. All of this would be so much more fun to talk about than this season, but this is the season that we're in. Shows I know nothing about, but kind of want to watch. Masamune-kun no Revenge R. This is a sequel to a show that I've been meaning to get around to. Dude gets bullied, so he tries to, push hard for a glow up, and so he can get revenge on the girl who bullied him. This seems like some fun, easy to eat, fluffy little cake, probably high in calories and sugar. Maybe some trash in there as well, but we'll see what happens there. My Tiny Senpai. You remember My Senpai is Annoying from a couple years ago? Well, this is basically that all over again, except there's no buff guy. It'll be cute, it'll be sweet, and it's being made by Project Number 9, who are just the best. Please give me a job. Rurouni Kenshin is a remake of a highly acclaimed 1996 series about a wandering samurai at the beginning of the Meiji era. Honestly, I think that we might see some people get into it, and I kind of like that area of historical Japanese fiction. There is a problem because it is being made by Leiden Films, and you know how it is. Maybe I'm just getting way too cynical, but then I realize that there's not even any good trash. I talk about how much I love garbage, and you would think that a shit season would have good trash in it. There's nothing. It is bland. There's no ecchi anywhere. There's not enough dumb shit happening this season to get me interested. Is this what happens to every weeb? Do we all just sort of reach a point in our times as weebs where we no longer find joy in pulling up some new anime and watching it? Is this season actually bad, or am I the one who is bad? Am I the one who's bad? Dumb shit for you to watch and be happy with. Reborn as a vending machine. Do you know how many people in a year die from vending machines falling on top of them? I'm sure the protagonist of this isekai knows that fun fact. He also knows what it's like to be a victim of such violence. Dude gets killed by a vending machine, then is sent to another world as a vending machine. This is the light novel where everyone said the isekai genre was dead, but I've heard that it actually gets pretty good. It reminds me of that one vending machine you find in Cyberpunk 2077 that gains sentience, but all it wants to do is make friends and be a therapist. Tempuru. Now, for the actual classical ecchi this season, it's just this one. This is the story of a lad who decided he was too horny, so he needed to pray that away and become a monk. But the temple he goes to is filled with hot girls who all really enjoy removing their clothes. I find comfort in this anime. It's comforting. The Most Heretical Last Boss Queen. In a different area of trash, this is a straight up remake of Baccarina the Villainess. Like, except instead of her being an adorable dumbass whose stupidity built up the most equitable harem anime has ever seen, she's actually smart about what she's doing, kind of knows what she's doing, allegedly, as I don't know. Like, I haven't read it. I mean, I don't know if I'll even watch it. Hyakusho Kizoku. This isn't even trash at all, but I have like nowhere else I can put it. The mangaka who wrote my mom's favorite manga, Full Metal Alchemist, is from Hokkaido, the Wisconsin of Japan, and actually worked on a dairy farm for about 7 years. So this is essentially just an autobiography on her time as a dairy farmer. Genuinely, I don't know why anyone would sleep on this. It just seems so fun. Like, do I want to watch it? Do I have time to watch it? You want to know what I actually watched last season? You want to know, you know how good last season was with a new Konosuba, Shoujo Insta Classic Yamada-kun, and actual juggernaut Oshinoko. The only 2 shows I finished were Nesekai and Megami no Cafe Terrace. I read the Rokudo manga, loved it, and never got past the 3rd episode of the anime. How do I keep skipping on Birdie Wing? Why the hell am I complaining about there being nothing this season when I have so much left over from last season that I could still watch? Maybe it's for the best that this season sucks. I don't know. Shows I'm actually very interested in and am suggesting to you, the audience. Shinigami Bochan Season 2. I remember when the first season came out and I could tell that the animation would not be good, and it wasn't, but the story actually overcame that massive handicap. Honestly, this might be the only show this season that I will insist on watching. A young Duke is cursed to kill everything he touches, but his hot maid likes to fuck with him even though she knows the dangers. I mean, shit, maybe she's into it. She's into the danger. I don't know, some people like knives. Zom 100. In my film school class for adaptation, I chose to adapt a manga, Jeiki Haru wa Isekai de Shofu ni Natta. But I wasn't the only one to adapt a manga. Another guy in my class adapted this one. He ended up making 2 versions. His final version was much more grounded in like Western sensibilities. The first version was much closer to the manga, and I thought it sounded fun. So honestly, I kind of want to read the manga more than I want to watch the anime. But I know that the anime is going to have some fun stuff in it. Shizuka just seems like the best character. I think that she might get onto the list of Tsujideres. Level 1 Demon Lord and One Room Hero. This is your sleeper hit of the season, at least for me personally. This is the one that I'm betting on. It's built like Jahi-sama, but might pack the same sort of punch as Yushibu, an anime that I was making a video for, but then stopped halfway. I do have to finish that sometime soon. But basically, the hero defeated the Demon Lord, is now out of work because he completed his purpose, and suddenly discovers that the Demon Lord was actually just in hibernation. But neither of them are in any position to do anything, so the former hero just sort of lets the former Demon Lord crash in his apartment until they figure out what to do with their lives, because, I mean, the hero's unemployed and the Demon King is like this tiny thing now, this tiny little chibi thing. Like, existential ennui, let's go. What happens when Sisyphus reaches the top of the mountain? What then? What then? Alright, that looks to be it. I have a lot to think about when it comes to how I view seasonal anime, and luckily I'll have that time thanks to probably not watching any of these shows. That sounds so mean, but also like, why would I lie on the internet? Like, who would do something like that? Anyway, with that being said, you should like, comment, and subscribe to be entered into a chance to win an entire 4-year film and television degree. It will not be free, you will pay full price, and the government will force you to take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. Thank you. Having trouble with the man, let the midnight special shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine its ever-loving light on me.